Hello, my name is Cordelia Lokensgaard.
Yes, and I'm Erik Lokensgaard. We have been coming to Emmanuel Lutheran Church for about 35 years.
I started thinking about my early time. My mother was brought to Cleveland, Ohio, when she was about 6 years old. She was brought there by her aunt and her uncle from Alabama. My aunt Flora was very religious, and so that's the way we were brought up. So my mother had her life there. She thought it was very interesting because where they went to live was with a lot of people who had come from many different countries. So that's where she lived for a number of years, and she got to know sort of what different people believed in. So the church that she went to was
Corey Methodist AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Right.
My story is deeply involved with the Lutheran Church for a long time. So my grandfather Lokensgaard was a pastor in the Lutheran Church. I attended a seminary, and so did my cousin Ole, not because either of us were heading for the to be ordained, but we were just sort of in the tradition. That was just something you did to sort of flow along. So there's lots of connections between my family background and the sort of Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
We came to Ypsilanti because I got a job on the faculty at Eastern Michigan University, and we wanted to find a church. And we went around to a few churches in the local area. I think we attended 4 different churches to sort of check them out. So when we first came to Emmanuel,
all of our kids came.
We were welcomed and felt good, and we're happy to be here and continue. We continue to be happy to be here and continue to feel welcome.
It was just fine, like he said. The women right away started to talk to me, and my best friend was Phyllis Bulgarian. And she came right to me and started telling me what there was, and it was just like...
Well, Phyllis, for years and years, was the accompanist for the choir, and so she was involved in the music ministry for a long time. Yes. And her husband, she and her husband Sam had been members of the congregation for a long time, and their children had grown up there, but they were adults long before we came to join.
So Scott was, you tell Scott.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Scott was our son, and so he was Erik's brother. When we married, Erik had a brother.
Well, yeah, I didn't have a brother. I only had a sister growing up. So.
And so they got along very well, and but they were 2 boys, and so there would be,
lots of jokes.
Scott he made everybody around laugh all the time.
Our son Scott had a sort of a long medical problem with a brain tumor that, they got taken care of, and he was fine for a long time, but then the tumors came back, and eventually that sort of, was turned fatal. So
Yeah. As I said, he was very funny. He had been funny like that since he was a little kid. I remember him coming out from the back rooms or whatever, and he had a hat on and some funny looking thing, anything he could put up. And he came out, and I remember I was doing something, and I turned and looked at it. It was quite weird because nothing, it was just weird. And he said, I want to make people happy. The one thing about him was he reminded me of my own father, because my father was funny. He was quite the singer. He and Alexa had that kind of voice, and we thought he was going to maybe become a singer, but he didn't. He didn't want that kind of life, and he became a school teacher. He was in the hospice, and we would go, the family would go, his sister would come, we would all go every day, and then his people would come.
Children from school.
The kids that he had in his classes, and their parents would bring them, and they could talk to him. We'd go there, and it was full of people. So the ladies who worked there said to me that maybe we shouldn't have so many people coming to this, because it was packed, the whole room, every day.
They put a sign on the door, please limit the number of visitors, but nobody agreed to that. I mean, they just, the students from his classes in prior years just kept on coming, just a long stream. So one of the things about the church was that we got, at that time, a Pastor Christine was the pastor here, and she went to visit with Scott every once in a while when he was in hospice. And that was wonderful, both for Scott and for all the rest of us. And then after he died, there was a lot of sort of family discussion and work on putting together a memorial service. And Pastor Christine was wonderful about sort of including the family members in sort of planning and organizing. And that was, I think, a very important step in sort of the entire family sort of coming to terms with the fact that he was no longer with us. So.
And here we had what do they call
Memorial
it?
Service.
Memorial. And the church was just completely filled. Upstairs, outside, it was just, because that's the kind of person he had been, and people had wanted to come and be there.
So Cordelia, for a while she was in charge of recruiting the assisting ministers. And then she worked on setting up for communion. Yeah.
Okay, so the person that I worked with for many of years was Barb Mays. And we would take, I would take it for 1 week, and she would do the other. And I was always a little bit nervous to be in the church the day before when we were getting everything. And so Erik had to come and sit there when I was there. He had to come and sit in the pew someplace, yeah.
So in addition to those activities, both of us served on various committees, search committees. I've been on church council, and we've just been in sort of many different aspects of the function of the church. Well, I hope that Emmanuel Lutheran Church can continue to be an important force in the Lutheran Church in Michigan, and an important institution in Ypsilanti, Michigan. The outreach ministries, Clothes Closet, Hunger Coalition, those are very important things, and hopefully those can continue on, and they're strong now, been strong for a long time. I suppose they could get stronger, but I hope they can continue. The other thing that I sort of hope for is lots of cooperation between various of the churches nearby. So I know there's been cooperation here between Emmanuel and the Episcopal Church, and I would hope that that would continue and maybe expand.
I feel the same way about that, and it's very good. There's some new people who have come over the years, and they're doing a wonderful job. I'm so pleased with that. When I came back and could come back, I felt very good about that, yes.